Portents of Fear is a horror fiction podcast which is intended for mature audiences. Discretion is advised. Welcome, Fearlings, to another weird and horrifying tale made just for you. I am your host, Michulhu, and I'll be your guide into the macabre and mysterious. Tonight's story is The Grim Reaper. Part 1. Death sat next to Barbara's bed watching the clock. He didn't need to. Knowing the exact time of death for every living being was part of the job, but human contraptions always fascinated Death. These gadgets and gizmos were a mystery, and when you've been around since the beginning of everything, mysteries are gifts. She stirred. Time was almost up. "Rick, where are you? Rick, I need you," Barbara called out. Her eyes were still closed. She clutched at the covers with her arthritic hands. They resembled broken claws. Death looked around the empty room, even though he knew no one was there. He'd seen this countless times. Humans calling out for the love of their lives, even if their love left them for a younger woman long ago. The machine next to the bed started to beep loudly. Barbara's eyes popped open, bloodshot, full of fear and confusion. Death watched, invisible. She madly pressed the call button, yelling for someone, anyone, to help. Death read her thoughts. They were a chaotic maelstrom of terror, anger, and regret. Death could have eased her thoughts, but he couldn't interfere with the living, even if they suffered. The sacred law of primordial beings: you stay on your side of the fence. The door swung open as a nurse entered the room. She towered over the bed with blue scrubs on and blonde hair that had been drowned in bleach. Heavy bags rested under her full gray eyes. The job had aged her like fine vinegar. It was clear something had killed her soul's spark. Death guessed COVID. "What's wrong, Barbara? It's all right. Rick isn't here right now, sweetie," the frazzled nurse said, as if speaking to a child. "Where's Rick? Why am I here? Where's my husband?" Barbara replied, agitated. She took her arthritic claw and groped at the IV, frantic to escape. The nurse moved quickly to restrain her. "Barbara, it's all right. You're in the hospital. Rick isn't here, but I am. My name is Janet, remember? You're okay. I got you." "I need some help in here," she yelled out the door. The seizure swept over her body, causing Barbara's eyes to roll into the back of her head. Heather's head was turned when Barbara's skin became translucent just for a moment. One could see blood pumping through her veins, muscles contracting, her heart thumping, if they'd been looking right at her. Another nurse rushed in. This one was a huge man who looked like a mountain. He quickly used a blue mouthguard to keep her from biting off her tongue. Death had seen this before. He wondered if humans thought this action would keep her soul from escaping, but that's not how souls worked. He glanced at the clock. It was time. Without warning, Barbara sat straight up, pushing the nurses away like they weighed nothing. Her eyes were still rolled into the back of her head. Her mouth wrenched open a full 5 inches, and she started screaming with an unholy timbre. Both nurses quickly covered their ears. The inhuman sound pushed beyond the threshold of pain immediately. They screamed in horrible agony, but the noise pierced into their brains like an ice pick in the air. Blood flowed from every orifice. The pressure built as their brains swelled against their skulls. Death started the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Their heads exploded, causing their bodies to fall to the linoleum. Barbara fell back to the mattress, asleep, unaware of what she'd done. Death stood next to the bodies. He changed his appearance to a kindly old man with winter white hair, big-rimmed glasses, and a warm smile. He didn't always take on a shape that was comforting. For eons, he just appeared as a skeleton in black robes. But lately, he found the recently deceased seemed comforted by something familiar and non-threatening. Death did not see the need to frighten people. This was a new viewpoint. "Janet Morgan and Tom Delus, I'm afraid your time on this earth has come to an end. I am here to take you to your afterlives." Death smiled, remembering that humans like to smile. It looked off. What the hell happened? Janet looked down at her corpse. Blood was draining from the neck stump. Tom's soul quivered. When he looked down, he started to cry. Barbara's mother was a banshee. Her father was like you, human. Now that she's slipping into dementia, she has no control over her powers. I'll be coming here a lot over the next few months before Barbara transforms completely into a banshee and returns to Ireland. I know, it's overwhelming, but I'll answer all your questions as we go. Death placed a hand on Tom's shoulder. "Tom, don't worry. Your brother will take good care of your cat, Mr. Mittens, I promise." Tom took a deep breath and nodded. Death waved his hand, opening a portal just as another nurse arrived to find the bodies. The 3 non-corporeal beings stepped through. Part 2. Water fell hard on huge leaves. There were countless tiny waterfalls streaming from the tree canopy to the muddy ground below. A tiny light from a large tent shone. Inside the tent, Taylor Canton wiped down his pistol, cleaning out its barrels, and inspected the 6 silver bullets. He polished each one with great care. It was ritualistic. As he did this, he thought of Isaac. The memories always started with finding his corpse in the kitchen, all bloody and ripped apart. He was interrogated by the police for hours. The officers had made their minds up before getting back to the station. It was a lover's quarrel gone bad. This happens in those types of relationships. They never said what was written all over their faces. Those same faces looked disappointed when it became clear he didn't kill Isaac. Assholes, he thought. These events played over and over again, fueling his drive and his pain. He loaded each barrel. Then he gripped the small silver cross that hung from his neck and prayed, "Dear Lord, give me the strength to do what I must. See my love into your arms. Amen." Death sat beneath a tree a few feet away from the tent. Water cascaded around him but never actually touched his body. 5 parrots perched on Death's shoulders and head, talking as if the Grim Reaper wasn't there. He didn't mind being used as a statue, though. Their conversation was interesting. The rain abated, leaving a gothic mist between the trees. The light in the tent showed Taylor's silhouette as he prepared. Death wondered why humans had such rituals that were not attached to any magic. Maybe over time they hoped they would become magical, or maybe it was a way to calm their ever-buzzing brains. He didn't know. Taylor emerged from the tent with a red cooler, the loaded revolver sitting on top. He set it down and looked around. Turning off the lamp, he slid the cooler's lid off. Inside were several cuts of beef. "Lord, please let this work," he whispered. He threw the meat out into the clearing haphazardly. Moonlight filtered through parting clouds. The mist took on a ghostly glow. Taylor breathed in deep, his gun readied. A howl thundered nearby, shaking the trees. It had a primal darkness to it. It was unnatural. The sound set all the animals running. Even the parrots fled from their morbid perch. Death thought for a second, and then took the form of a young, well-dressed man. He was handsome and well-built, with a mane of curly golden red hair and a calming aura. He walked without disturbing the mist to observe the passing. The reaction time to shoot and kill a werewolf is more about luck than a defined lapse of seconds. The gap between victory and becoming dinner is always razor-thin. The massive creature bounded out into the clearing 30 feet away. Like a great white hunting a surfer, it cut through the mist as if propelled by rockets. Right before reaching Taylor, the werewolf jumped into the air. Taylor reacted more than aimed, firing blindly. The bullet pierced the werewolf's chest, sending it careening into a tree. Luck had been on the human's side this time. The werewolf landed hard with a yelp. Quickly, Taylor spun and shot 4 more bullets into the creature's torso. A sickly howl followed, then the wolf morphed into a skinny, pale man no older than 20. Blood flowed from the wounds. His pupils grew large, taking in all of time and space for the briefest moment. The scene looked like a Renaissance painting of tragic love. Death approached. He could feel the emotion in the air. The time was close. The Reaper felt compassion for the men. These feelings were confusing for a mind once unyielding and distant. Death wished he could do something, anything for them, but the rules were written in the stars. Death does not interfere with the living. Taylor's lantern light revealed the damage he'd inflicted. He fell to his knees and cradled Isaac in his arms, gently caressing his hair. Through blood-weeping lips, the dying man spoke. "You look old, my love. How long has it been?" 20 years, Taylor said quietly. "You look the same. I guess there is a silver lining to being a werewolf." "No, it was pure hell. On the run, never knowing how many people I killed, not being able to stop myself or do what needed to be done. How many people did I kill? It doesn't matter. It's over. I've missed you so much," Taylor said. "I've missed you too. I know. Thank you for hunting me all this time. I knew you were, but I couldn't just let you find me. Too much survival instinct. I wish I had. To save more people. To save us. I love you, Taylor. I love you too." Isaac let out a rattling breath and was gone. Taylor held Isaac and cried for a moment. Then he gently laid him down on the ground. The mist rolled over him like a death shroud. The insects, already dining on the meat, would soon be on the corpse. Before the next night, the jungle would strip it of all its useful parts. Taylor looked at the gun. 1 bullet left. He'd made sure to leave it. Isaac's soul rose from his corpse and joined Death a few feet away. Death smiled. It was uneven and unwelcome. "Hello, Isaac. I grieve your passing." "Thank you? I'm guessing you're Death?" "Yes." Isaac turned to look at his body and saw Taylor with the gun pointed at his head. "Death, please stop him. Don't let him do this. You must be able to." "I cannot intervene in the world of the living. I just take souls to their afterlives." "I'm sorry." The gun went off. A moment later, Taylor's soul joined them. "Taylor, why? You had the rest of your life to enjoy." "Without you, it would have been an empty existence. You're my love, and by hunting you all these years, you're also my white whale. Living, I had no purpose and no obsession. Now we can be together for all of time." "No," Death said coldly. The 2 men looked at him with surprise. "What? Why?" Taylor questioned. "You will be going to different afterlives." "No, please, let us stay together." "It's not my decision to make. Your time here on Earth is over. That includes your coupling. Mortal love is not forever, I'm sorry to say." "If you can't take us to the same afterlife, then leave us here on Earth," Taylor begged. I can't. Too many ghosts already. Say goodbye to one another," Death lied poorly. The Grim Reaper could absolutely leave them there, let them dwell in the jungle together forever. He could even take them to the same afterlife. There would be a lot of paperwork to fill out and grumbling, but he could make it happen. But that's not how things had always been done, he thought. The system cannot change just for mortal love. It'd be chaos. The 2 men looked at each other, saying a million words with their eyes, but nothing with their lips, then turned back to Death. "You're lying. You don't have to do this. You don't want to do this," Isaac snapped at Death. Death stared at them for a second. He felt empathy for these 2 men. They were in love and having to part. It seemed like that would be torture. "You're right. I'll make sure you stay together," Death said abruptly. A portal appeared and all 3 figures walked through. Part 3. Ashwood Sanitarium soared above old-growth pines. The road to the facility was overgrown with baby trees. Death walked this route easily. He'd been told by a soul that walking could be cathartic. He wasn't sure what the word meant, but he thought he'd give it a try. It was peaceful, and showed how amazing the world could be. His own realm was made up of black towering stone where the names of the dead were carved. This created a maze of hallways to nowhere, stretching forever in all directions. It was cold and dull, 2 things he never used to notice. That changed with empathy. The walk from the main highway to Ashwood took 3 hours. He started at 9 so he could arrive at midnight. The ghosts he was going to see would only come out at that time, and he did not feel like hunting for them. The air smelled of pine, though Death had no way of knowing that. He'd never had food or the need for the sense of smell. For an entity that dealt with death scenes, this was a blessing, though he did wonder what all the fuss was about. While walking, stepping through large logs and tall grass as if it wasn't there, he looked up into a dazzling star-filled sky. He was starting to understand beauty and scale, how at this size the world seemed infinite and the sky was even more so. Finally, the edifice of Ashwood was ahead of him. It had an energy that he could appreciate. It was a moldering temple to atrophy, which held its own type of beauty. Death arrived at the front door, an old rotting hunk of wood with a rusty handle. It sat off its hinges, trash plugging all the holes the broken door had created. Again, he thought about how good this looked. The bugs, the decay, it really made him think about how amazing the world was. He liked being able to spot beauty. He walked through the door and in a loud voice called out, "I am Death. I'm here to speak to the ghosts of Ashwood." Inside, it was evident that the surrounding forest had been slowly eating the building for decades. No living soul had been up here since 1982, after the massacre. Looking around, he could see what it looked like back then. Blood all over the walls, people screaming in terror. This was not beauty to him, but just the way things were on Earth sometimes, chaotic and maddening. The Grim Reaper spent 4 days taking souls out of this building. He thought about how horrible it must have been for the humans at that time. The place was 5 stories high, though the top floor had caved in long ago. Water seeped into everything. Beams were swollen with it. Plaster and ceiling tiles covered the floors. Rats scurried in the unseen spaces. It had its own beauty, Death thought. Gladys appeared before him, a wispy woman dressed in blood-stained whites. "You return, my lord." "I am no one's lord," Death protested. "As you wish. Have you come to ask the question?" The other ghosts started to materialize around the two of them. They seemed excited to see Death once again. "I am. Do any of you wish to go to your afterlives? This building is being reclaimed by nature, and once it's gone, you'll be lost forever. We understand, but this is our home. We'll leave when the walls fall down. You know that," Gladys said. He did. Every year the ghosts said the same thing, but ghosts like doing the same thing over and over. Death surveyed all of the others and saw a young teenage girl among them, Beatrice. He remembered her from the massacre. She didn't want to leave her friends, and her friends didn't want to leave Ashwood. "Beatrice, surely you're ready to depart. I can see it in your face." She inspected Death for a moment. "I am ready, but I have a question first. Why didn't you stop this from happening?" The other ghosts looked at her with horror. They thought of Death as a lord, even if he didn't want the title. "It's not my place to do so. I'm not allowed to interfere in the lives of the living." "Bullshit! You knew we were all going to die. You could have shown up early, stopped that, whatever the hell it was, from ripping through us. But you didn't. Can you really not feel anything for those living?" "Beatrice, I do feel something for mortals. I just don't understand what those feelings are." "They're new. When you died, I was doing my job. I was waiting for you to cross over into my domain, and I am so sorry for your passing," Death stammered. "Sorry for my passing? I was 15 years old when I died. I bet you don't even notice the passing of time, do you? Well, I've been dead a long time, but I'm still just 15. Not allowed to live my life because some creature from the pits of hell murdered me? You could have saved me and everyone else." Her misting soul turned hot red as she railed at him. In the past, when humans took him to task, he could shrug it off. This time was different. Death thought about what Beatrice was saying. She was right. The rules were etched on his ethereal bones, but he didn't know where they came from. A creator god long dead? He just wasn't sure. A new emotion flooded into his void-kissed skull. Guilt. "You're correct. I could have saved you all, but I didn't. I can't undo what's happened, but know that I wish I could. Now, do you want to go with me or stay here?" The young lady's aura showed nothing but contempt. "I want to go, but think about what I said, Reaper. We all choose what rules we follow and what rules we don't. Not saving people isn't a rule you should follow." Death nodded his head. For this trip, he looked like the classic Grim Reaper. Ghosts liked the traditional look. "I promise to ponder what you have said." He turned to the others who had formed a group behind him. They feared he would lash out at them because of Beatrice's outburst. He could read their thoughts. "I'm not angry at any of you. I take your words with honor. Gladys, I shall return next year. We look forward to it, Lord." They left, Beatrice following behind. Part 4. Autumn had painted the leaves in reds and oranges in Maine. The wind's fangs bit a little deeper. Winter was near. Death walked along a country road once again, a tall skeleton with black flowing robes and an air of hopelessness. Could he really change the world? Or just at least stop monsters, human or otherwise, from taking life? He'd thought about Beatrice's words. They made him yearn to be more than a boogeyman humans feared. Some sad figure that just ushered people to the afterlife. Ahead, a mentally unhinged clown, Roger Unger, hid in the bushes, waiting for his next victim. His grease paint was a white base with black and red accents around the mouth and eyes. Sweat beaded on his forehead. He wasn't the first serial killer to dress as a clown, but he was the most prolific. The sun retreated over the horizon, bathing the world in dusky shadows. The girl wouldn't see him until it was too late. 13-year-old Kate Song was approaching the bush Roger had hidden in. She wore those strange things in her ears that played music. Human contraptions. Death was fascinated by them. Her smile was bright and energetic. She was completely unaware of the danger. Death could see everything ahead. The shadows, the girl, the sicko in the bushes. What happens if he does step in? What are the consequences? The Reaper could tell that Roger was about to pounce. Kate's last moments had arrived. Her eyes were closed. She danced to her music along the gravel shoulder of the road, oblivious to her end. Roger sprang from the bush, holding his cleaver high above his head, laughing with maniacal glee. His face was a twisted spasm of lust, hate, and ecstasy. Screaming, Kate fell backwards, putting her hands up to protect herself. The cleaver swung, and Death stepped in. Part 5. Death sat at the end of Kate Song's bed, listening to her talk about middle school. It all seemed very complicated. His skeletal look did not seem to faze the girl. She just seemed happy to have been saved from that clown creep. The one thing Death wondered was how she'd learned to breathe through her eyelids, because she never seemed to stop talking. Not that he minded. It was fascinating to listen to. She brought up a lot of the same type of drama the parrots spoke of. In the corner, unseen by the young girl, appeared a light. At first it was small, like a pinhole, but then it quickly grew into a warm glow that filled the room. Death ignored it, listening to what happened to Kate at lunch and how much she liked Ryan Gilson. "Friend, we need to talk," Life said, now standing next to Death. Life took the form it always took, a beautiful dark-skinned woman heavy with child. Death did not look at her, still concentrating on Kate. "I already know what you're thinking. No. I saved this human girl, and that's that. You can't take her from me," Death said gravely. "How can I take her? She is in your charge now. But we must talk," Life said sweetly. "Fine." They transcended reality, but not before Death told Kate he must leave for a while, promising to come back. They now hovered in a void, floating across from one another outside time and space. "You know what you've done is forbidden. Why would you do such a thing? You've upended the entire system to save her. One mortal girl? Have you gone mad?" Life scolded like the mother she was. "No, it's just, I've taken a liking to humanity in general, and I got tired of seeing people like Kate being killed for no good reason. I have all this power, and I'm supposed to ignore the suffering I see every second as my being takes a billion guises across the world to collect souls?" Death asked. "There has to be more to me than that. My role can't just be shepherd of the damned." "I understand now. You've developed emotions. Empathy?" Life asked, puzzled by this realization. "Yes, I have. And I don't understand how you can allow mortals to live and die in such horrible ways. Isn't every living being your child?" Death asked. "How dare you? I love all my children, but unlike you, I understand my role in the cosmic dance. We're the building blocks of creation, not its arbiters. We don't get to save mortals from what awaits them. I'm the mother and father of all living beings, but parent to none. It rips my heart out to see what happens to them after I place a soul in their bodies and set them on their journey. But that's my job, so that's what I do. And your job is to take those same souls, no matter what the cause of death is, to the afterlife. Well, the system is wrong and immoral. I won't be a part of it anymore. I'm not reaping her soul." "You have no choice in the matter, Death, and you know it. You cannot just change everything on a whim. These emotions are not who you are. You have to play your part," Life snapped. "I said no, she lives. It's easy for you in this system. You're loved. No one says bad things about Mother Earth, do they? You're not some horrid creature like me," Death retorted like an angry child. "You're kidding, right? Some people hate me so much that they do everything they can to throw away my gift," Life said bitterly. "So let's make life and death better for them. With our power, the world could be heaven. We wouldn't need any more afterlives or whatever. Become gods? No, that's too far. We're not divine beings. Our job is to play our parts in the dance." "I told you I'm not reaping her soul," Death said. "She can't live. I won't do it." "Okay, I have a compromise. You can let her live, but there's one condition." "And what would that be?" Part 6. Kate Song looked out a large bay window at the Oak Hills retirement home. She was 92, and she reflected on this fact more and more. Her life had been wonderful. She'd been a musician, winning awards and selling millions of albums. Even now, people came by to speak with her about the glory days. She never had children and never regretted it. She had loved 3 men at very different times of her life, but was never tied to any of them. Life had been amazing. Lately, though, she had become tired and knew that the ride was almost over. She felt him standing behind her as thoughts of her life played in her mind. Death, the supernatural being that she'd convinced herself wasn't real, but deep down she knew was. Kate's song, "I'm here to take you to the afterlife," a cold voice said behind her. She shivered from its arctic tones. No matter. She'd been waiting to see her friend who saved her for a lifetime. Quickly, her soul left her body and she turned to greet him. "I'm so happy to see you. For years I told myself you weren't real, but you saved me, and I had a fulfilling life." Death stared at the old woman blankly as if he had just met her. "What's wrong with you?" "There's nothing wrong with me. I thought you'd be happy to see me again." "We've never met. I only meet a soul after they die, not before. As for being happy, I don't have any emotions. I am simply death. I shepherd souls to the afterlife. Nothing more, nothing less." Poor Death. I feel kind of bad for the guy. Could you give up all your emotions just to save a life? Be sure to let us know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed tonight's tale. If you did, take a moment to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss a single terrifying story. Want more horrific stories? Click on one of our other episodes on your screen now. Good night, Fearlings. Sleep well, if you can. Death started the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Their heads exploded. Sorry. I don't know why it struck me funny.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Their heads.
Sorry. Because I should have continued with the sentence, but I stopped there and that just struck me funny. Okay. Heads exploding is not funny. It's not funny. Okay, sometimes it's funny. All right.
Depends on the head.
I cannot intervene in the world of the living. I just shepherd.
Let's change it.
Okay. It's because I want to say shepherd souls. Like I'm Sean Connery. Shepherd souls to the afterlife. I'm sorry.
How about shut up?
He was handsome and well built, with a mane of coal.
A colon? With a mane of colons.
That's a Medusa I wouldn't want to see or smell. All right.